So here's my last week's opinion letter writing graphic organizer. I decided to write my letter to Mrs. Laffler to let her know how the tortoise could have made better choices to improve his situation. So my greeting always begins with dear or hello when I'm writing a friendly letter. So I'm going to start my letter on my sloppy copy. Dear Mrs. Laffler, now remember, this is just a rough draft. We're going to go back and edit this next before we write our final copy. So, dear Mrs. Laffler, instead of complaining, the tortoise should have, instead of complaining, the tortoise should have after you begin, you want to make sure you know what your big idea is. So instead of complaining, what do you think the tortoise should have done? What is your opinion? In my opinion, the tortoise should have had a better attitude. Skipping a line, I'm going to go ahead and begin my body paragraph. My body paragraph needs to begin with my topic sentence. So on my graphic organizer, I wrote that my topic sentence is going to be 3 ways to solve his problem. So there are 3 ways that I think he could have made better choices. The first one is that he needed to be patient. In the beginning, Tortoise was worried that the lake was becoming dry. Then he looked down. So in my graphic organizer, I said, don't look down. The tortoise should have not looked down. And finally, in the story, it says that Tortoise became angry and he made a poor choice to open his mouth. So here I wrote, the tortoise should have stayed calm. He was angry. My closing sentence is, if he did these things, right? If he did this, he wouldn't fall. So using my graphic organizer as a planning, remember this is just a rough draft. So instead of complaining, the tortoise should have had a better attitude. There are 3 ways the tortoise could have had a better attitude. First, he was worried. So the reason why I think that that's a bad attitude, because if he had stayed calm and been patient, maybe the lake would have filled back up. Now I'm going to use another transition word to write down my second reason. So my first reason, I'm going to begin with first. My second reason, I need a transition. So I can write second, the tortoise was nervous. So when the tortoise was up in the air, he got nervous, so he looked down. And then when he looked down, that's when he saw the people who were angry at him and pointing to him, making him very angry. So I think that if he had stayed calm, he wouldn't have looked down. Second, the tortoise was nervous. If the tortoise stayed calm, he wouldn't have looked down. So here I have a reason, and then I have an explanation. Okay, my reason was that he was nervous, which means that's a bad attitude. So that I have to support with an example, an explanation. If he stayed calm, which is a good attitude, he wouldn't have looked down. Now back to my graphic organizer, my final bad attitude is that he was angry. So I'm going to write finally, he was angry. And if he had not been angry at the people below, he wouldn't have let go of the stick. So I have reason number 1, reason number 2, and reason number 3. And I also included a little bit of detail and explanation to why I think that those are reasons or better choices he could have made to improve his situation. Now I still need to skip a line and include my conclusion. My conclusion here is the tortoise should have had a better attitude. So I want to wrap up my writing by including this conclusion and making sure that I skip a line. If the tortoise improved his poor attitude, he would have improved his situation. That is my conclusion sentence. And now making sure I have my closing. On my graphic organizer, guys, you have this little closing here. Sincerely, Miss Harvey. Make sure that you include that in your friendly letter. Now, once you're finished writing your friendly letter, you're going to make sure that you're using your opinion letter sloppy copy rubric just to check and make sure that you've included everything you needed to include. Now make sure also that you keep a copy of this sloppy copy, because next week we're going to be making our final draft, our clean copy.